to Old Time Tuesdays. I've got a couple of little items today. We've all seen grazing muzzles you put on to restrict the intake of grass. Ponies will have a night, for any reason really. But a couple of items I've got today are quite very old and interesting. So let's have a look at this one first. So straight away anyone would say, well, that's a grazing muzzle. But it wasn't. It was a muzzle, the same as you'd put on a dog. Now, why would ever they use that? Well, this one's a lovely, beautifully made thing. I mean, it seriously is. For what it is, it doesn't have to be pretty. But when they've made this, they've really taken the trouble. The stitching on it's superb. How many to the inch, all this type of thing. But if we look at it in depth, there, obviously, for the nostrils. At the back here, there's holes here, so obviously you stop the condensation and the horse, around. But there's nothing at the bottom here to allow grass to come up. So this would be put on a stallion. Several uses, as I say. This would be put on a stallion when he's covering a mare, possibly if he was a bad biter, he'd bite a neck bad, then possibly it'd be put on then. It would be put on, I've also seen horse working alongside one wearing that to so it just prevents the horse from biting the other horse. If you've got an injury on a horse and it could get to it with its mouth and it would bite, I know people say, well, surely when that was in, but you'd still be able to get your reins going up here, yeah, because it's just, it would be just to put the muzzle in there and the actual bit would be this eye, you see, so you'd still be able to control your horse and do whatever. And normally we'd be using a snaffle with this rather than any sort of barred bit, cheek piece bit. So this was used for all sorts of things. Anything where you wanted to prevent the horse from using its mouth to bite, to scratch itself, whatever. You get a horse with mites, for instance, be tormented bad with mites. Well, while the treatment was going on, they'd put that on because often some of the treatment years ago would involve sulphur and could burn the horse's lips, etc. So that's one of the, it would be used for, but several different jobs. And a lovely old thing, really is nice, beautifully made, very strong. And that's basically it. I've also seen one used with horse that would chew the stable to bits. So when it was just in the stable to rest, they'd leave it on, they'd let it eat its food, and then it would be put on overnight because it would be, messing the stable up, all the boards, you see teeth marks in it everywhere and like that. So basically a muzzle, that's what it was. A lovely old thing. But holes at the back, because obviously when the horse is breathing through it all the time, large holes at the front, so it could do, and yeah, but no holes at the bottom as such. For grazing, you wouldn't get any grass in there, they're coming up the side, it'd be really difficult. So, just had a cup of tea delivered, very nice. We make these films, during the day, obviously, when we can. We've got a minute or two, normally at tea breaks, funny enough, when we have our little break. So, I'll get summoned to the studio, which is basically the front room. So this one is much the same thing. And I've seen this used quite a lot. So it would fit onto the front of a noseband. Yeah, front here to the sides there, and then a strap at the back. This one's been folded up, it's been left laying like that, so it's sort of gone that shape. But it would have been, back in the day, more like this, rounder, like that, when it was held on. And what it does, it can't go up because of the head collar around the noseband, yeah, and it can't go down. So this would come to the bottom, just above the horse's nostrils, maybe a little bit lower than that, yeah, and it would stick out quite a bit. So you would just about see, when I say above the nostrils, below the nostrils, just about there, you just see a little tiny bit sticking out of the lip. And that was just put on for the same thing. Seen it a lot when another horse would bite another horse in a pair. When they wore this, for a while, psychologically, you know, something happened because they stopped attempting to bite the horse next door when you took it off. I've actually seen it in actual fact, you know, seen it with some coaching horses years ago. So they just put it on in the training all that time, exercising. By the time you went in the show ring, wouldn't bother doing it to the other horse, you know. So that's what they were used for. So there you go. I've seen vets have these. So they'd leave one with you, you know, if you didn't have one in the stable. But that's what it was for. So you went on the noseband at the front and either side. Yep. Like that. With all of these things, let me qualify this, with all of these things that I'm telling you about, it's what I have seen or understand about, have seen it in action, because there's no point talking. And things get adapted, you know, to be used for another purpose. So for instance, this one, if we go back to this one briefly, someone could easily have punched some more holes around the bottom here and it become a grazing muzzle, but this was not made for that, as you can see, because there's nothing on the bottom. There's one hole there, one hole there, one hole there. Well, there wouldn't be anything worth getting through there, you know, to eat. It would just be silly. And why would it have them up here? Obviously no grass going to get, and if it did, it was useless to the horse. It couldn't get to it. So that's what this was. But then by punching a few more holes here and there, it would become that. So a lot of things got adapted over a time. But that's what those two are. Unusual things. You wouldn't see them today. Everyone would know this and think it's a grazing muzzle. And that little guard just stopped the horse, so it come around the side of his face here, around there, and would stop the horse from biting another horse, or again, chewing itself, you know, scratching itself, biting itself, where it had some sort of irritation. So those two there, unusual little bits in themselves. So a little short film there for you. I hope you find that interesting.